Around 500 BC, the entrance of the Leo to the Taurus coincided with the vernal equinox, which in the Iranian calendar marks the start of the New Year's Day, or Nowruz. Hence, the lion goring the bull may be interpreted as referring to the Nowruz festival. The facade of the stairway facing the courtyard is sculptured with lines of soldiers, dignitaries, and courtiers adorning one wing, and 23 gift-bearing delegations on another. Since the art of perspective was still unknown, to indicate figures arranged in 3 parallel lines, they had to show them as 3 lines, one on top of the other. According to classical authors, the elite corps of the Persian army consisted of 10,000 selected foot soldiers, whose number never changed, because as soon as one died or was taken ill, another replaced him. For this reason, the corps was known as the Immortals. We are told that their uniforms were very colorful and shone with brilliant golden and purple designs. Hence, modern scholars identify foot soldiers represented in similar costumes on glazed bricks from Susa, now in the Louvre, as the Immortals, and by analogy, consider these spearmen on the Apadana stairways also as representing the same elite division. The Immortals are followed by the dignitaries of the Persian Empire. They proceed in 2 lines. Most are shown not with the traditional rigidity associated with court rules, but relaxed, chatting to one another. These were the backbone of the empire and controlled the destiny of the state. Their exalted position allowed them such liberty as guests and friends of the king. Most of these noblemen carry a lotus-like blossom or flower, and some hold round objects like apple or colored egg, all of which are still associated with the Nowruz festival. Archaeological investigations have shown that the 2 highly beautiful sculptured scenes showing the royal audience, one of which is the Iran National Museum and the other in the Persepolis treasury, had originally ornamented the central facade of the Apadana stairways, but were later removed to the treasury for certain reasons. Undoubtedly, they depict the highlight of the royal audience. The king is enthroned under a canopy, and the heir to the throne and several senior officials stand behind him, while the master of ceremonies stands before the throne and reports on the proceedings of the festival, and ushers introduce, group by group, the gift-bearing delegations who have assembled from all parts of the empire. first palaces built on the Persepolis platform was the Tachara. It is located to the southwest of the Apadana, facing south, that is, to the sun.
This is the private palace of Darius, probably the first Achaemenid palace built here. It's quite impressive and interesting on many points. For one, its facade was exactly modeled on Achaemenid royal tombs from Darius onwards. And secondly, the artistic works have been worked to such a refined polish and beauty that people often called it the Mirror Hall.
The columns of this palace were probably wooden, but no trace of them has survived. The floor everywhere had been paved with red covering and beautiful carpets. Close to the Mirror Hall, the palace of Xerxes, known as the Hadish, was built on the south side of the terrace. It measures 2,550 square meters, and its floor stands 18 meters above the plain. Unfortunately, very little of it has survived Alexander's fire, which probably started right here. The harem of Xerxes is L-shaped and is situated south of the Hadish and west of the treasury. Its western wing was reconstructed in the 1930s and today serves as the headquarters of the Pasagadi Research Foundation and houses the Persepolis Library and Persepolis Museum.
Of course, when we speak of a museum, we think of a hall filled with precious objects. But Persepolis has been repeatedly plundered, first by Alexander and then by others. In addition, many valuable objects discovered here have been carried away by foreigners and excavators. And some better preserved reliefs and objects have also been taken to the Iran National Museum. Therefore, one should not expect to see this museum as a treasure house of many objects in precious materials, or a perfect state of preservation. However, this is an authentically reconstructed Achaemenid structure, built by the German architect Professor Friedrich Krefter in the 1930s. The column bases, Torii, fluted shaft and capitals have all been fairly authentically reconstructed, making this a vivid example of an Achaemenid hall, where one can see how such a room received its light from doorways and windows. And everywhere, the features of Achaemenid architecture are accurately reproduced.
The Central Palace, or the Tripylon. This is the eastern doorway of the Tripylon. The two jambs of the doorway mirror image a ceremonial scene. The great king, Artaxerxes I, son of Xerxes, is seated on a royal chair, and his crown prince stands behind him. Both are on the massive imperial throne, which is being carried into the hall by 28 representatives of the subject nations. The armlets and crowns and other adornments of the royal figures were originally made of precious materials and set into the stone, but they have long since vanished. The second largest palace of Persepolis was a splendid building, the central hall of which had 100 columns, and for that reason is called the Hall of 100 Columns.
We are now in the throne hall, better known as the Hall of 100 Columns. Its construction was started by Xerxes, and finished by his son, Artaxerxes I. One of the most magnificent palaces of Persepolis, it originally had 100 columns, 10 rows by 10, built of local dark grey marble-like stone, each with a bell-shaped base, round torus, fluted shaft, adorned on the top with floral rings and designs, and a double-headed bull capital on the back of which rested the heads of cedar rafters. Finely polished to a marble-like surface, the capitals were partially gilded, so the splendor of the hall was truly dazzling.
Some of the most beautiful Achaemenid artworks have been found in this area. One was the miniature bust of a young prince made from a paste of lapis lazuli with the eyes formed from precious stones, now lost. Another was a small tile made of the Egyptian blue ornamented with the figure of an eagle with outstretched wings. Such a figure was the royal ensign of the Persian Empire, and from there it was probably adopted in the Western world as national emblem of many countries. The Hall of 100 Columns was provided with 2 main southern entrance doorways and 2 main northern doorways. The jambs of the southern doorways are ornamented with the figures of the great king in audience and representatives of the subject nations carrying his throne. And these are the northern doorways.
On each of the northern door jambs, we see 5 rows of figures, each row consisting of 10 individuals. Each figure is shown from one side on one door jamb, but from the reverse side on the corresponding door jamb of the other doorway. To demonstrate this mirror image representation, let us take the 4th figure. We see that he wears his sword on the side, which is seen frontally, but his bow case on the side, which is almost hidden from view. Now, if we look at the sculptures on the corresponding jamb of the other doorway, we see the same 4th figure from the reverse side, so that this time his sword is hidden from view, but his bow case is fully visible. The 2 representations make up a complete figure in the round, as it were. That means that we have 2 sets of 50 figures on the 4 door jambs, shown once from the left and once from the right. These 100 individuals represent the most senior officials of the empire and provide an exact analogy to the symbolism of the 100 columns of the hall.
To the north of the Hall of 100 Columns, an unfinished gate could be seen.
This is the so-called unfinished gate, which was originally intended to be a counterpart of the Gate of All Nations, but remained incomplete. Here we see that half-worked slabs have been laid one above another, because the artists did not want to damage the lower parts by fallen chips when they were working on the upper parts. For this reason, the unfinished gate serves as a workshop where the researcher can imagine the masons at work and can follow the course of construction and stone carving.
As far as we know, the treasury was one of the first buildings to be constructed on the terrace platform. Its remains are still imposing. Amongst finds discovered here were 750 Elamite clay tablets, which preserve the records of payments to those employed at Persepolis. This archive is very important for throwing light on the administration of the work and state of workers at Persepolis. They give information on the division of work, the ethnic background of many employees, and their classification according to skills and gender. It has become clear that the state employed large numbers of workers at Persepolis, both men and women, and paid them adequately in kind or cash according to their skills and nature of their work. Two Achaemenid kings, Artaxerxes II and Artaxerxes III, had their tombs cut into the rock above Persepolis in the hill of the sacred mountain of Mithra, now called Mount of Mercy. Both of them have a facade which copy that of the Tachara, or Palace of Darius. The city of Parse, or Persepolis as the Greeks called it, was the richest and most magnificent city of the ancient world. 2 centuries of prosperity and domination and mastery had so enriched it that even the houses of ordinary residents were filled with costly furnishings and plenty of precious belongings, including gold and jewelry. But its prosperity came to an end early in 330 BC. Alexander spent 2 months here and then burned down its Acropolis, despite the urging of his old and wise advisor, Parmenion. It seems that the torching started in the beautiful palace of Hadish.
کاخی که یه روزی یکی از زیباترین کاخهای هخامنشی بوده.
Hadish was once one of the most splendid Achaemenid palaces,
باقی نمونده.
but it is almost completely destroyed by fire.
بنا
Only the bedrock foundation underneath the original floor
سنگ‌های سوخته
and parts of the door jambs have survived.
به جا مونده. این
The catastrophic fire was
دلیل
kindled by Alexander.
آتش سوزی مهیب اسکندره.
Here we come to the end of the Achaemenid period.
دوره هخامنشی میرسیم.
Persepolis, which was once the crown jewel of world architecture,
معماری جهان
and the city of Parsi, which was once the most splendid town under the sun, all fell victim to Alexander's invasion and fire.
همه به وسیله آتش سوزی اسکندر و حمله اسکندر از بین رفت. اینجا پایان کار تحقیق.
Here then the story of Persepolis ends, but its memory survives. All was associated with those who built it and he who destroyed it.
ویرانگرش به تاریخ پیوست.